BRICS summit is underway in Johannesburg.
Is BRICS for global equality or just China's way of exporting more than just viruses? BRICS is the dynamite alliance of countries that's making some serious waves on the world stage. BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These aren't just any random countries. They represent some of the world's most dynamic and rapidly growing economies. Brazil, known for its vast rainforest, carnival, and football, but it's also a significant player in the global agricultural market. Russia, beyond its vast landscape and rich history, it's a major energy exporter with vast reserves of oil and natural gas. India, with its diverse culture and a population of over a billion, it's a IT hub and one of the world's fastest growing economy. China, often termed as world factory, it's an economic giant with industries sprawling across various sectors. South Africa, famous for wildlife and diamonds, it's also a key player in the African continent's economic landscape. Now, why does this group matter? Because together they are challenging the traditional power structures in the global politics and economy. They are collaborating, setting up new institutions, and essentially reshaping the way the world thinks about economic cooperation and development. The term BRIC was first coined in 2001 by Jim O'Neill, an economist at Goldman Sachs, in a paper titled Building Better Global Economic BRICS. He identified Brazil, Russia, India, China as emerging powerhouses that would become key players in the world economy by 2050. South Africa joined the groups in 2010, adding S to the BRICS. Over the years, these countries realized that while they were strong individually, there was immense potential in collaboration. They began holding annual summits starting in Russia in 2009.
Now, staying with overseas events, the first ever BRICS summit is getting underway in Russia.
These summits became platforms for discussing mutual interests, from trade and investment to innovation and sustainable development. Despite their differences, BRICS nations found common ground in many areas. They advocated for more equitable global order and sought to reform the international institutions that were often dominated by Western powers, such as in the name of World Bank and IMF. Their collaboration led the establishment of New Development Bank in 2014, aimed at financing infrastructure projects in developing countries only. And here is the latest budge. BRICS is evolving. It's not just about these 5 countries anymore. There are talks about expansion, new members, and even more significant global influence. Welcome to the era of BRICS 2.0. On August 24, 2023, at the end of 15th BRICS Summit, BRICS announced that it would formally accept 6 new members at the start of 2024: Iran, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, Ethiopia, and Argentina. If we see Iran, it is known for its rich history and vast oil reserves. Saudi Arabia, another heavyweight in the oil industry and a key player in the Middle East. UAE, with its futuristic cities like Dubai, it's a hub for business and innovation. Egypt, home to the ancient pyramids and a pivotal country in the North Africa that paves the way for trade through its Suez Canal. Ethiopia, one of the Africa's fastest growing economy with a rich cultural heritage. Argentina, known for its tango, football, and wine, it's a significant economy in South America. This expansion isn't just about numbers, it's about influence, collaboration, and a shared vision for the future. With these new members, BRICS is poised to have a even more significant impact on global politics and economy. So when we say it's a big deal, we mean it. BRICS has always represented a major chunk of global population, thanks to China and India, which are the only countries with over 1 billion people. The 2 biggest population being added to BRICS are Ethiopia, 126 million people, Egypt, 112 million people. Now, if you talk about GDP, guess what? The combined GDP of BRICS is giving G7 nations a run for their money. According to IMF, BRICS is expected to account for a whopping 32.1% of global GDP in 2023. On the other hand, G7, which includes some of the world's most advanced economies like US, UK, Japan, and 4 other countries, will account for 29.9%. This addition of 6 new countries in the bloc has increased total GDP of the group to 37% of global GDP at a purchasing power parity. These emerging economies, once seen as underdogs, are now on the verge of outpacing the traditional economic powerhouses. The global economic balance is shifting, and BRICS is leading the charge. Although the world is trying to move away from the fossil fuel, the global oil market is still incredibly large, and the BRICS is set to play a much bigger role in it. This is mostly due to the admission of Saudi Arabia, which alone accounts for 12.9% of global oil production. Based on 2022 figures from the Energy Institute Statistical Review of World Energy, BRICS' share of the oil production will grow from 20.4% to 43.1%. If we see the share of global exports, according to WTO figure of 2022, BRICS expansion will grow the group share of global exports to 25.1%, up from 20.2%. There are over 40 countries that have expressed interest in joining BRICS. A smaller group of 16 countries have actually applied for membership though, and this list includes Algeria, Cuba, Indonesia, Palestine, and Vietnam. BRICS nations are diverse. We are talking about different languages, cultures, political systems, and even historical rivalries. For instance, India and China have had their fair share of border tensions, with a notable standoff in Ladakh in 2020. And yet these countries are coming together under the BRICS banner. Why? Because they see the bigger picture. These nations recognize the shifting sands of global power. China, with its economic might and strategic Belt and Road Initiative, is challenging the US dominance. Russia, often at the odds with Western policies, finds a common ground with BRICS on many global issues. And countries like Brazil, India, and South Africa are asserting themselves more on the international stage, advocating for more of multipolar world. Alright, let's talk money moves. Now, when you think of the international trade, you probably picture transactions happening in dollars, right? After all, the US dollar has been the go-to currency for global trade for decades. But here is where the BRICS is shaking things up. You see, BRICS nations are thinking outside the box. Instead of relying solely on the US dollar, they are exploring the idea of trading in their own local currencies. Imagine Brazil and China trading in Rias and Yuan, or India and Russia using rupee and rubles. It's a game changer. Why does this matter? Well, trading in local currencies can offer several benefits. For one, it can shield countries from the volatility of the dollar. If the dollar fluctuates, it can impact trade and balances and economic stability. By using their own currencies, BRICS nations can have more control over their trade dynamics. But there is more. BRICS is also looking at innovative payment systems to facilitate this. For instance, in the recent years, Brazil and China have done over 30% of their trade in local currency, and India and UAE kicked off trading in their own local currencies in July 2023, aiming to extend this model to other countries. It's like they are saying, why go through a middleman when we can have directly connection between one another? They are cutting out currency middlemen, sidestepping the drama, and setting their own rules. And in the world of global finance, that's a pretty bold move. But there are challenges for this alliance as well. BRICS is a melting pot of cultures, political ideologies, and economic strategies. While this diversity is a strength, it can be a source of tension as well. According to Pew Research Center's latest Global Attitude Survey, China is seen quite critically in some fellow BRICS countries, with Indians in particular having a very critical view of their powerful neighbor. 50% of Indian respondents claim to have very unfavorable opinion of China, with another 17% viewing China somewhat unfavorably. Relations between the two countries have been worsening for several years over tension along their ill-defined 2100-mile border in the Himalayan region. 48% of Indians claim to have no confidence at all in Xi Jinping to do right thing regarding the world affairs, while 58% said that would not take Indian interest into account when making international policy decisions. Brazilians showed similar level of suspicions with respect to cooperation with China. While 50% of Brazilians respondents said that China would not take their country's interest into account, 67% expressed little to no confidence in Xi Jinping to do the right thing at the global political stage. That translates to 48% of Brazilian respondents having a very or somewhat negative opinion of China, up from just 27% in 2019. As BRICS nations collaborate more, they can wield considerable influence in international forums, challenging the traditional dominance of Western powers. With a new developmental bank and initiatives to trade in local currencies, BRICS is showcasing its ability to think outside the box, offer alternatives to traditional Western-led institutions. The road ahead for BRICS is both challenging and promising. As Robert Frost once said, two roads diverge
In the world, and I took the one less traveled by.
BRICS seems to be that less traveled road, and the world watches with bated breath to see where it leads. So what do you think? Can BRICS 2.0 present alternative world order, or it will be a mouthpiece for more of the Chinese influence on the world stage? Do comment below.
Worldwide interests. Every interests. Fall here. Subscribe for interesting and full of knowledge videos.